All right, in this episode, we talk about the problems of extreme long toss
and the changeup.
Porcio, David Ardsma, Stephen Godana here at the @Top Velocity #Pitch Tip Show, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. Big on Snapchat. Ask your question. Pitch tips, baseball tips. We answer on the show. We're lucky enough to have David here. He's free agent in between teams. Good things coming his way. Or anything you want to say about that?
No, free agent. Yeah, I know I wasn't happy with how I was pitching. Wasn't happy necessarily the amount I was pitching, but more unhappy with how I was pitching. I wasn't consistently within my mechanics. Wasn't driving as well as I wanted to. Wasn't getting my arm in the position I wanted to. So I came down here to work hard, to get it right, and then move on and then find a team and excel.
And we've made really good progress. You feel good?
I feel great. I feel like each day has been great progress. Made some great throws today that we were hitting the spots that we wanted to be hitting, and so now it's just a matter of doing it a little bit more consistently and finding a team.
Yeah, cool, awesome. And let's get started. What's your question for today? This was kind of relevant to what Dave and I have been working on.
Mr. Z asks, hey Brent, in the last show you told Steve to separate long toss and its extreme form. Could you explain the difference?
I like this because it's my whole point with long toss. Like, I'm fine with up to certain distances, but when it gets extreme, it's just too hard to stay within your mechanics. And that's what the ASMI studies show, that as distances increase, it changed kinematics and kinetics, the forces on your arm and the mechanics you use to generate the speeds at those distances, because obviously they started throwing the ball higher. So it's like with David, when we've been working, when we would get to certain distances, his arm would change past, the hips would change, and it was harder for him to stay within his mechanics. Of course, we started getting better at that, but that's the problem with distances. If you go extreme, there's a good chance you're going to lose your mechanics. What do you think?
I think the only place where long toss is beneficial is sometimes to help with the separation. If you're having real problems with it, it helped us sometimes in the off season every now and then to throw in some long toss in there just to really, because that's the one good thing it really does is it really helps you with the separation as long as you're still working on it and don't just let everything change and just throw it up high in the air. Don't do that. What you're trying to look for is be able to throw it on a line. If you can't throw the ball on a line anymore, stop. That's too far. So I try not to go any farther than 120 feet, and Brent doesn't even like that. If you get to 110 feet and you're able to put the ball on a line, then you can stay within your throwing motion. But if you start getting to 180 feet, 200, 300 feet, you have to throw the ball so high that basically you're aiming up here. Well, when do you want to do that when you're pitching on the mound? You never do. So really keep it short where you can keep it on the line and really work your mechanics and your separation within there.
Yeah, it's just once you feel you break down, I don't believe that's a good throw. Isn't that?
When you're having to use so much momentum to create the throw, when you can't take one step and throw it on a line, then you're not actually using your body. You're using the speed and you're basically doing a running throw. And what's the point? If you can't go down the mound and do a running throw, you have to get on the mound and stay stationary and throw the ball. So try to work in that position as long as you can.
Because what's more frustrating than being able to do, like a 3-step throw and feel great, and then you go into your delivery and it feels nothing the same? Isn't that the most frustrating thing in the world?
I'd rather be able to stand and go in motion and throw it right and be frustrated about my 3-step throw than be great at a 3-step throw and can't go on the mound and do my job.
Because all that matters is getting it on the damn mound, right?
Yeah.
Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I was just going to say more like when Brent's saying to tell me to throw in the extreme, meaning by like extreme, when you're going to extreme distances, trying to just throw it as far as you can and doing it as your big block, I guess you could say. Like that is like your your thing to increase velocity? Like as if like instead of using weight training or something like that, you're like, I'm going to go long toss every single day, and that's going to be my big piece of what's going to get me there. Using that as like your extreme focus, or weighted balls as your extreme focus of your velocity training, and I think that's where you can go wrong.
Yeah, you get to 120 feet and stay there. Maybe take a step, or just try to stay still and just take one little step and get in your motion and throw from there. And try to get that as hard as on a line as you can. Without the ball, you feel like wherever you release it, it does not go higher. It has to go straight there to your receiver. And if you can do that, that's pure velocity right there. You're creating it and you're doing it. So do that.
Right. Next question.
Jaden asks, I've been trying to throw a changeup for 2 years now, and I've tried almost every grip. Any suggestions?
All right, Jaden, since I know you and David had this conversation on Twitter, I thought it'd be cool to kind of put out to the community. David can talk about his changeup, how he holds it, what he's trying to do with it. We were talking today how now it's something where you're trying to get to work for lefties because you've struggled with lefties.
Yeah. So I've always had struggles with changeups also. I learned about 2006 how to throw a split, or 2005, 6, how to throw a split finger basically right here. This is how I throw it. I don't suggest this until you have to go to a split. Try to learn anything else beforehand. That's what I did throw, and then really tried to get out in front and throw basically right through the catcher's feet as fast as you can, just like a fastball. And I'm looking for a really late hard drop. I wanted to look like a fastball, and then at the last second drop. Now, over the last couple of years, I've had a hard time with the big league balls. Staying consistently on top of that. A lot of times it starts, slipping, starts flying out of my hand. It really is hard to control. A lot of big leaguers actually are telling me the same thing. They've been having trouble with the big league ball, whether it's changing the ball, changing the rub that they put on it, or something's going on that's making it a lot more difficult. So like this off season, I worked with Steve Ontiveros out in Arizona, and he kind of showed me basically go seam just like I would on a split, but actually start right here, where I'm putting the ball right in the palm, right there. Basically, I'm putting all the force right there, and I'm trying to even the seamed up with my knuckles, and basically just sit it back in there. Some people would call this a fosh a little bit, because I am putting the hands on the side. So what I'm essentially trying to do is throw this just like a fastball, and trying to get just a nice, easy, hopefully late movement this way, away from a lefty. And so I'm just trying to give a lefty another look. Sometimes I can get it to move down. I can give that to a righty. It's been really effective this offseason. Obviously, you can go to whatever your four-seam fastball is, if you're holding it right here, and just throw another finger on top. So basically move them over, and then that's your circle change. When you try to throw that, really try to be out in front and try to just turn it over just a little bit. Or just try to keep the circle right through it, and what's going to happen is your hand's going to turn over anyways. That's what we do. Those are some easy ones. If you have more questions, keep sending it about it, but those are pretty basic ones.
Yeah, I think that's good. I like the fosh. I threw it. I think the fosh to me is, I just feel like you have better feel. I think the hardest thing for a changeup for me is when you're throwing it not on these two fingers, it just feels like you can't feel the ball that well.
Yeah.
I've always thought.
I've never really known anybody that's had success with that. The major leaguers I know, Felix Hernandez, I mean, they're right on it. It's almost like a split, almost like a split fosh a little bit, and they're throwing it where they're right behind the ball. They're not trying to do anything fancy with it. Those are some of the best changeups I've ever seen, where they're not trying to be fancy. They can repeat it, and it looks like a fastball, and then the last second it moves. What you really look for is just something that looks like a fastball and isn't. Don't look for this amazing movement. Don't try to be Felix Hernandez with it. Don't try to be Johan Santana with it. Just try to get just something that looks like a fastball out of your hand and then isn't.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking with the pitching coordinator for the Dodgers, Knapp. Richard?
Yeah.
Coach Knapp. He was saying he worked with Jack Crescent, who's a friend of mine, who's a cross-checker. He said he would just teach him how to slow his fastball down. Do you find guys do that a lot, where they just don't even worry so much about the grip. It's just slowing their speed down.
It's basically because a lot of times you're throwing your fastball, you're wanting to be kind of right on the tips, right, not the tips, but right here. You want your fastball, you're right behind it right there. So a lot of times what happens is you just basically just put a little bit more pressure on it or move it a little bit further back. You know, basically just, you want to start with something that's just a little slower than your fastball. And then from there, when you get a feel of that, then you can start messing with something. Then you can start moving the ball a little bit or try to finish over a little bit or split it a little bit. But start with something that you can control, be consistent with at just 5 miles an hour, 5 to 10 slower than your
just slow
fastball,
down.
and just go from there. The best changeups are just, that's all it is it's a slow fastball.
Right, awesome. Anything on?
I'll show how I threw my split. I just threw it like that.
Threw it across the bars.
Yeah, that's usually how I threw it.
That's a hard one to throw
I don't
consistently.
know about that.
It was badass.
Well, you do have
It's
a little
look-
grip there. It's kind of weird. Feel that.
It'd be badass.
You have a little
when,
grip
when,
here.
when it goes right. It'd be badass.
I could throw it pretty consistently. That's how I strike people out, man. That was my pitch.
There you go.
All right, good question. If you have a question, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, reach out to, obviously, us. Reach out to David, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Yeah. Holla, we them boys. Holla, we them boys.